Woo, here we are. Yay. So happy to be here this morning with my friend Susan Lynn. Oh my goodness. It is just, I always feel my feet are off the ground most of the time when we spend time together.
Oh,
So
that's you.
I adore you and I really love working with you and it's so much fun. So thank you so very much for being here.
Well,
Oh, and thank you, sweetheart. Hello, everybody. Thank you. I've said hello to some people, but Deb and Juno, I see you're here, and Sue and Flora, Lorraine. Oh, it's so good to see all of you. All of you people that came on before when Susan and I used to work together on Sundays. And wow, it's fabulous, fabulous. So yes, I was just talking to Susan behind the stage and we were catching up with things and that was so nice. And both of us looking forward to the holiday. Have you got your tree up yet, Susan? No. Okay.
I don't know if I can have a tree with these dogs. I mean, honestly,
You
I
got more than one
have a
now?
wolf in the background. And what?
I thought you only had Zoe. You have
No,
another
I
one?
have a puppy. I have a puppy, and I don't know if she's 13 months, but I rescued her from a neighbor. Terrible
Okay.
situation. But
Okay.
her and Zoe aren't getting along, so she might go to
Oh,
someone else. But meanwhile, I
yeah.
have two rambunctious dogs, and I never spent Christmas at home. I was always going back to my family.
Oh,
So
sure.
it's like
Sure.
something that I don't normally do. And then I was going to travel, and I'm telling you, I
Well,
don't know.
yeah, and during COVID, we didn't do that much. We just
Right.
kind of hung out. Yeah,
It's,
we didn't.
it's
Yeah.
weird,
Yeah.
right? But I will say
Mhm.
this, and anybody in chat, maybe this happens, or maybe it happens to you, Allie, but my mom crossed over when I was 7, and she
Mhm.
hasn't really been a big energy presence in my life, but ever so often, she loved Christmas. Ever so
Uh-huh.
often, I get this, like, her energy comes in, and literally I go to the store and buy everything. I don't I literally buy like carload full of stuff, throw up the tree, and people are like, what is happening? But it only happens every
Oh,
couple of years. But if
I
I
get
feel,
it.
I'm telling you,
Mom's nudging.
I feel like she's like, come on, Susan, let's go get that tree, let's go. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
Lord, I don't want to get all that. I know it's coming because I already had
Uh-huh.
a Halloween party. I mean, I'm like, okay, something weird is going on here. I don't know. I
Well,
will
it's
see.
because when she gets there, she wants to have she wants the tree there so she can celebrate with
I'm not
you.
kidding. I really think and I will video it. If Zoe is running through the house with a Christmas tree in her mouth, I will video that because that sounds like something she would do. One year she ate the presents.
Oh my God.
So I don't know. It's not going to be pretty. That's all I can say.
Oh my God. Well, I thought I have four dogs, as you know, and I had gotten the older one. I got her in May, and she was one of those dogs that she's 10, and she never looked at a dog. If a dog made any kind of noise, she just looked the other way. She's very passive. And so now she and my Zoe, the two of them are like two peas in a pod. They lay beside each other. They do
Oh,
all
I
this other
love
stuff,
that.
but they both can't deal with the puppy. So I understand puppy energy is something that
Oh
just,
man.
ooh, yeah, drive you crazy. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, well, we'll have to hear about your adventures. You make sure to post them if you
Oh
have them.
God, Lord.
We're
Oh, I
all
will.
ready for them.
It's good to have a laugh.
It is good to have a laugh. Always is. Very nice. So, everybody that's here, thank you so much. Oh, hi, Rainy, Angel Wings, Starlight, Lise. Yeah, sorry about slow mode. Yeah, I usually have that just so I don't miss anybody. Arlene Heiss. Yes. Oh, that's so nice. Pierrette. Wow. Susan, the real truth of how things have changed since even the beginning, because that's been 2 years for me last month. But the people that have,
Congratulations.
thank you, the people that have channels now, wow, it's just
I
amazing.
know,
And
right?
so many of them come from your and Kim's.
Oh,
It's like, yeah, you could put that ancestral tree out there and you've got all these orphans going out, and you guys have been the leaders of them all, and
oh.
they have all
Well,
grown beautiful,
when
just beautiful.
Linda G and all those people were my
Yep,
inspiration. So uh,
yep,
it's awesome to be able to have any hand at all in someone else's growth, right? So
sure, and to
I'm
give back.
thrilled.
Yeah, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I,
Yeah.
I, I understand. And, I was telling everybody yesterday when I was on with Jean that I'm reading this wonderful book by Dr. David Hawkins. It's sort of a compilation of some of his stuff. And he says in it, and I was mentioning this yesterday, that we can't really change something that's far away, but we can live in our own integrity. And by living in our own integrity, we do make a change. And I thought to myself, thank you, because sometimes you feel like you can't do enough, you feel like, yeah. And you and Linda and others have certainly been uh, shepherding us through this
And you
horrendous,
too. You
well, the
too. You're
political maelstrom. Yeah, well, thank you, dear. But the political maelstrom, oh my God, right?
Oh yeah. So,
So, yeah. Hi, Lauren. Hi, Jamie. My goodness, Jess. It's good to see everybody. Thank you so much for coming by and being with us. So, I wanted to make sure that we got some of your questions because when Susan and I are able to get together, we're trying to move away from some of the more personal readings to find things that you're interested in that might benefit the community, but not as much politics because Susan does that already on her channel. So we have a couple of, I have about 9 or 10 questions. And I'm thinking that it could be some fun, and I wouldn't even mind interjecting some humor in here today. I know I could use it.
I can do it.
Yeah, I think we all could. It really uplifts everything. Hello, Samantha, Viviani. Nice to see everybody. Very nice. All right. So this one wasn't from my community page, but it was waiting for me. So I left it up there. And it's from Viv.
Oh, sorry, I'm laughing. It's
That's
such a
all
good
right.
question.
It is.
Something is happening. I mean, I will say this, and I don't know if Viv, if you asked that question because you knew you have an inkling or a feeling. Now I know astrologically something is happening. We're switching out of this major transit into a new transit, and that is definitely a big deal.
Mhm.
But I just know for me, something big is happening in March. I mean, not well for me personally, probably, but also for the world. Um,
Yes.
it
Yeah.
just feels like some things, like when I go into the energy right now, some things are coming to a head in March. Um,
Hmm.
I think that we're going to see some real justice. I mean, from a political angle, I think we're going to start seeing, well, when I say justice, right, I mean, everybody has their own definition of justice,
Yeah.
but I do think that we'll start seeing more justice around March. But what's interesting is today the guides said, which they hadn't in the past, is that energy kind of continues into June. So we're talking about several months. So now,
Excellent.
other than that, I think we have some pretty big weather things happening in March. Could
Uh-huh.
be some late storms, some late snowstorms, ice storms coming in March. Also, water. I mean, snow is water. It's either going to come in snow or it's going to come in rain. I see a lot of
Hmm.
water. I see a lot of wind. I see some pretty big storms. Okay,
Uh-huh.
in March.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Hmm.
and I, and as far as Ukraine goes, I was seeing something is happening, which I guess it kind of is happening now, but I think they're going to have some big gains around the middle of this month. And then the next thing I see is in March for Ukraine too. So it's just a lot of
Wow.
this energy around March is just going to be all over the
Yeah.
place. It's going to leave its imprint everywhere, I think.
That is so fascinating. And I've heard this over and over again between the planetary aspect, like you said, um, this Jack Smith, he's just already moving so fast.
Yep, yep.
And yeah, I feel really good about it. It's kind of one of those things, even though there's always a balance of good and bad. We've had unbelievable amounts of icy rain and snow here.
Oh,
It's usually in Western Washington, and we've had a lot of it, and we've had high winds. So, it's just unusual. And I'm seeing that when I look at the weather map, I see that in other places as well. Not always the same that it works that way. Yeah. But that's interesting that it goes into June. Woo, okay.
buckle
Sounds
up.
good.
I would just
Yeah.
say buckle up. But I would also say I'm trying to do a video. I've done two videos and I just will say this. The guides are saying we can't go back. We're not going to
Uh-huh.
go back. We can't go back. We humanity is ascending,
Right.
and we're not going to go backwards. These people that want us to go backwards, that are backwards themselves, they can scream and throw a fit, do whatever they want to do. It's not going to work. They're
Right.
not going to stop us. So that kind of makes me feel better too, because
Yeah.
I can just tell you, we're not going to lose our democracy. We're not going to fall off. The civilization isn't going to disappear. We're literally ascending with Mother Earth. Um,
Wow.
so it's just a matter of kind of like dealing with that as we
Yeah.
kind of move on.
As we move
But
on.
people are not going to want to come with us, so they're going to want to try to hold us back.
Wow. That's amazing. And then, as you know, yesterday, the man who shall not be named put up that he wants the Constitution to be thrown out. I mean, give me a break. And so it was Liz. Liz wrote and said, well, there's his admission right there.
I know. And I guess today he said he wasn't going to give his DNA to E. Jean Carroll in that case. And now also today, Rudy Giuliani is being drugged before the bar. He's being
Ooh.
investigated today. So
Yep.
there's a lot going on.
There
Actually,
is. There is.
there's a
Yeah.
lot going on.
Besides that, and Ascension at the same time, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the last thing is that and I thought this was fascinating because I think I should talk about this.
Okay.
They said that there's this light was coming down. They said we're helping you. This light energy and light codes is coming down, but because humanity isn't quite ready for it yet, it can feel a little bit of out of out of whatever that is.
Out of sync. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think you can feel it can
Okay.
feel dangly. It can feel like, ooh, I don't it does not might not feel good to you. So
Right.
the very thing
Okay.
that's here to help us actually is making us feel a little weird. So
Hmm.
that's good to know
Okay.
too. And they
That is
said
good to know.
if
Yeah.
you want to get this energy, the way to do it is not to look for it, not to grab it. The way to do it is to meditate,
Let
to
it
get
flow.
out of your body, to put your ego over there, and then they will be able and go into an allowing kind
Yeah.
of frame of mind or energy, and they
Yeah.
will allow it to come in as it's needed to come in. Otherwise, it's like being in a hailstorm. It's kind of pinging us. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yep.
So the more
I do.
humans go into this allowing, will
Hmm.
actually ascend faster, will actually come up to speed faster.
That's
So I thought that
wonderful.
was interesting.
It is interesting. And as with all spiritual upliftment and energy, it is all about allowing and letting go and not
Yeah.
making something work. It's allowing it to come through us. So that makes perfect sense. There was somebody on Instagram or Facebook yesterday that had all of these squiggly lines and all kinds of things, and she said it was light codes that she was getting. And so I thought to myself, what, when you said that, it was like, wow, you know. And she said, work with these energies, and it looked like it did. It looked like squiggly lines. It looked like it was a little chaotic. Let's put it that way. But wow,
And we're
that's
not going to
awesome.
understand that. I mean, how can we
Right,
understand that? So the way to do it is just to allow, and
right.
they'll titrate it. They'll figure out what you need and what you can handle,
Uh-huh.
and then it's an upgrading too. It's a way of being
Sure.
upgraded.
Of to the fifth dimension. Yeah. Wow.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing that. That's fabulous. That makes me feel so much better as well. So, wow. So, Viv, thank you for asking the question. This is from the Junosphere, and I will take this down as soon as, because it's blocking both of us. But for those of us who are stepping into meaningful roles as light workers, now that we begun to find our footing, what can we do proactively to be of the most help to those just beginning to awaken and transform? And how can we focus our energies most effectively to assist in the ascension process? That's a great question, Juno.
It is a great question. It's kind of what they were talking about this morning. So kind of exactly what they were talking about. They were saying that humans are awakening. We are becoming aware of our abilities, and this is going to help us with discernment. It's going to help us kind of avoid the trumps of the future because we're going
Uh-huh.
to be able to see their deceit. But how to help people is you have to be careful with that because people really have to come to you for help.
Right. That's
We all
true.
know from dealing with our Trumper families and friends that if they're not ready, they're not going to be receptive. So really how you can help them is to, what they're telling me right now is, do that allow your energy to be adjusted and your vibration to be raised. And then what
Mhm.
happens is, in your daily life, whatever that is, in the smallest way and in the biggest way, you're emitting that higher vibrant vibration, and that is actually going to be like a balm. It's going to calm people down, it's going to heal people. So you actually are going to be helping, and this is everybody, not just this
Mhm.
applies to every human, not just people that are psychic or whatever. um,
Right. Right.
and then when they come to you and they say, oh, because this is our role, to be honest with you, all of
Mhm.
us, we're kind of first responders. Sometimes they call us first responders because,
Yeah.
we're here later in life doing this kind of work, right? So um, if people come to you, then by all means, that's when you minister to them, and you help them understand, oh, you had an out of body experience, I think I've had that, let me explain it to you. Oh, you had a premonition, I think I've had that. So help them when they ask for help. Otherwise, raise your vibration, and that helps them. Do you have something
Right.
to add to that, Allie?
No, I feel like somebody in the chat said, so we're just supposed to pretty much let it flow over us, let it, and I agree with that. So many people are asking, what do we have to do to move into the ascension? But once again, it's not about doing, it's about being. It's about allowing, it's about letting it wash over you, putting yourself into self-care, take care of, remembering that you, whatever it is you do for you do for all, because that's the most important part. But yeah, no, that's wonderful. I think that's great. Thank you so much. That was a great answer. Steve, I just want to say I'm glad your mom's feeling better. Thank you, dear. And also I want to say happy birthday to Linda Sandoval's son. So I'm gonna I'm
Oh,
gonna
happy
throw that out
birthday.
there. Yeah. All right. So I don't want to disappoint people, but we do have a whole bunch of predetermined questions here. I do know that everybody wants to know about the ascension. So if we come back to it again and again, that is kind of what I think more people are interested in in the overall scheme of things. But you know what I also wonder, Susan, do the people that are more spiritually aware, let's say, do they have an easier time of it, or it doesn't matter? In other words, like people are getting dizzy, people are feeling nauseous, or this or that. Is that something that um, can benefit, that only is everyone, or is it, yeah, if you know the answer to that.
I feel like what they're saying is that that energy affects everybody. But
Right.
if you think about it, they said sometimes it just pings off of you because you're not in an allowing, and that can happen to me as well. I mean, I feel like, and especially if you have physical symptoms like you're dizzy or you're just, jangly energy, just, I don't
Yep.
feel right, something feels off, right? um
Hmm.
that's why I think it's important that they said these light codes can actually make you feel weird, or
Sure.
fearful, because there's change happening. um
Um,
so in some
okay.
ways I think it's worse on us because we're more in tune to energy, and we're like, this
Sure. That's true.
energy. And people
Mhm.
that aren't in tune with energy are just like, oh, my allergies. What I mean? Meanwhile, we're like, oh my
That's
god.
right. I know. No, it's not your allergies. Yeah.
I think for us, that's why they wanted me to speak to it, because
Good.
you
Yeah.
guys are going to be feeling kind of weird, jangly energy, and it's unsettling,
Right.
and it's weird that it's from a good thing. You know what I
Right.
mean? But it's
Sure.
just because it doesn't match our energy signature just yet. It has to
Just
be kind of, meshed, or and that's something that we have to allow to happen.
well, I'm also reminded of the fact that the best way to show that you're spiritually aware or that you're on the spiritual path is to act spiritual. And you can feel this way and say, oh, I like this, or I like meditating, or I like this, or I like that, and then go out in the real world and be angry and mad and not walking your talk, let's say. And you're just doing yourself a big disservice by doing that, because you're not going to grow as you should in this. You already know it. If you know it, you can do better. So do better. Yeah.
Try. It's hard. It's hard.
It
For
is
me.
hard.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. It's hard for me.
It is. Yeah.
So I
because
do
we're human. Yeah.
To it's really interesting. I had an interesting person that I was talking to, and she said, "Were you do you like frogs?" And I was like, "Well, kind of. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I kind of do." And she's like, "Well, you were this frog alien race." And I said, "That's
Oh.
why I have to get in the bathtub and the water goes up to my face. Like the only thing sticking out is my nose. And literally I can
Really?
spend hours in the bathtub submerged in water. That's what makes me feel better. That's how I deal. I did it this morning. This is how I deal with this energy. I get in water. Like that's the only way I
Yeah.
can do it. So whatever that is for you, right? It might be putting headphones on and having binaural beats or calming music, or it might be essential oils. Whatever it is for you,
Right.
this is a good time to really figure that out, especially now going into the holidays. And please do it, because we're going to have this kind of jangly energy for a couple of months. Chaos is exactly right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
figure out what is it's your energetic first aid kit is what they're calling it.
Good idea. Yes, I agree. And I used to listen to the Green Tara mantra, and I hadn't listened to it for a while. And yesterday before the show, I put it on, and today I did again, and it brings me way, way up. It brings me way, way up.
You were guided. That was
I
guidance.
Was.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And Miss Charlotte, chocolate does count, but I have got to, I'm telling you guys, I am eating myself out of house and home, and I've got to stop. I've got to switch to something like, more healthy, right?
Carrots. Carrots and
eating
celery.
Pounds of chocolate. It's not even funny.
Oh God, Susan, that's so funny. And it's that time of year where all that stuff is there. You know what? I do the same thing, but then I end up not feeling well. And that you think that would be enough for me. Oh, it's because I ate that. But no, I'm going to start the next day off doing the same thing.
We're human.
We are. We're just humans having a spiritual experience. That's right. That's right. So Rita Connolly wonders if it's possible, and I think it already happened, that the states for Democratic primary will be switched. I believe they did that, didn't they? Or they're going to with South Carolina. Is that right?
I'm not sure if it was finalized, but yeah, I do think it's going to happen. I mean, Iowa is saying that they have a law that there's a state law that says that they have to be first, but every other state is saying that's a bunch of malarkey.
Sure it is.
But anyway, I think this is going to not go easy. I don't think this is going to be an easy transition, but so they're just saying this is part of the chaos that, we're going to be seeing everything kind of flipping and flopping, and everybody's not going to feel settled, because a lot of our institutions are going to be changing, or the way they interact with us or we interact with them are going to be changing.
So yesterday, my husband told me something that I had not heard in the news, but there in Indiana, some Muslim and Jewish and other women filed a lawsuit against Indiana for taking away their religious right to an abortion because they're not Christian, and they won.
Oh, yes. Nice.
Yeah. I have not heard this anywhere. I don't know. He does Politico and all those things.
They're not putting these things on the news. They're not talking about it. I mean, Trump had dinner with, an anti-Semite and a racist, and Trump said he's going to throw out the Constitution. Where is that? That should be 24/7 on the news.
I know.
The news just isn't covering anything.
They aren't covering the thing. And this is, I think it's almost as important as, I mean, it's certainly important, but they were covering something else with the Supreme Court. And I thought this needs to be covered.
Yes.
But anyway,
that's the stuff that's going to start changing, you guys. Our institutions are not for the people right now. And the people are going to stand up. And that's some of the things that's going to be happening next couple of months, 6 months.
That's good to know. All right. So we got Wiki here. So she says when different readers say, I'm reading the energy, or my guides say, or I'm accessing the Akashic records, are those methods of tuning into the same information, or is it something different? Great question.
That is an excellent question. I mean, a really excellent question. So, no, they're not any, they're not the same. So, when I'm reading someone's energy, I'm literally reading their energy. Like,
Okay.
is their energy happy or sad or frustrated? Are does the energy? I always give that example of I can't read McConnell because he doesn't follow the energy. Like anybody else would be like, whoa, I'm not going to touch that hot stove, right? I mean, I
Right.
would look at them and say, oh, they're very unhappy. They're going to quit their job. But McConnell's like, I'll just stand here connected to this 240-volt electricity and, to heck with the world, right? But
Right.
majority of the time, the average person will react to energy, and I read that. That's
Okay.
one thing. Now, when I'm talking to their spirit guides, I'm talking to their spirit guides, and their spirit guides are telling me about them, which I think is interesting because when I'm doing readings, sometimes the spirit guide won't tell me something that I'm asking because they think this person needs to learn the lesson, or maybe they'll do something of their own free will that will help them avoid the lesson. But if I
Mhm.
get a whiff that they're not telling me, this is just me. Y'all know I'm. If I get a whiff they're not telling me something, I dial up one of the relatives on the other side, and I'm like, "Hey, mom, yeah." Then the relative will tell me what the spirit guide won't. Now, this energy is very
Okay.
different. Like relatives, you don't want to get some information from relatives because they think their son hung the moon, and
Oh,
and
sure.
he might have been not a great person, right? But so you got to know what energy to use when, and what to trust and what not to trust. Also, your relatives can't see 5 years out. They're very
Right.
myopic. They can see kind of the near future.
Mhm.
And then the Akashic records is completely different, right? And the Akashic records is the because humans need to describe things in this way, we think of it as a book. But it could be a computer program, or it could be a cloud. I mean, I don't know, right? Um, but it's the place where all of your lives and all of your soul's paths and journeys and whatnot is stored. So you get an Akashic records reading, and you can that person can go into your Akashic records and find out, why did you marry that guy?
Mhm.
Why did
Mhm.
you have this child? What is the soul contract between you and this? And so the Akashic records is they're all information. Some of it
Mhm.
overlaps, but they're all different sources.
Wow. So Sue said 45's mom was not nice to Susan. Did you try to bring her in?
I
Uh,
yeah, I
uh,
don't yeah. Mm-mm. No, she
I
was
wouldn't
not
want to
nice.
get into that yucky energy. I know that's a problem too.
No, it's
They
a real
sometimes, ooh, yeah,
it's a real problem. It's really a problem. And
yeah, yeah.
that's why I do my mediumship and I ask for names. I had a client last week, and she was wanting to talk to people from the 1800s.
Oh,
And well, I'm back there in the 1800s, and somebody wanders in, starts talking to me. She's like, "No, that's my great grandmother on my dad's side. She was a terrible person. I don't want to talk to her." Like, okay,
hey, you get
well,
what you get, girlfriend.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
that's,
yeah.
oh my God, that's something else. Oh, that's great. Great explanation. Great. So, Lori Sarihane, why was Melania at Donald's side when he announced he was running for president? We know she doesn't want to be first lady. What was she thinking?
The guides are telling me three words: she was paid. She gets paid for public. Everything is transactional. So
Right.
you want me to go to this dinner? Okay, it's X. You want me to do this? It's X. Everything is a payment.
Wow.
And and I had read on her a while back that she's husband shopping. So she's not going to stay with Donald. I mean, he's going to go
Right.
his way, she's going to go her way. But it
Yeah.
is all about the money for her because she did sign a prenup. and she doesn't get. I don't think he has that much money anyway. But
No, he won't have any
anytime
anyway.
she
Yeah. Yeah.
add some money to her bankroll, she
Uh-huh.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
and Janet says she's his handler, but she gets paid to be his handler. Trust me,
Yeah. She
somebody
gets
paid
paid
her.
very well. Yeah.
Wouldn't She's not there out of love or duty. Oh
Right. Well, I remember seeing the pictures of what's her name's wedding, the younger daughter there,
yeah, yeah,
Tiffany. And
Tiffany. Yeah.
I thought to myself, why in hell did they have the wedding that weekend during that was like the worst time you could ever have a wedding during the week of the midterms. I just thought, you really did it to yourself, Tiffany, because God, was he cranky. Oh my Lord. That was awful.
But they might have wanted to drag attention away from the midterms too.
That's very
Maybe they
possible.
might
But
have
he
had
was,
some other.
yeah, it
Yeah,
could be.
yeah,
But when I look at him, hold with his arm out and he looks just so mad. I'd hate to be
yeah.
that
He
to be
looked
my dad. Yeah, it's kind
boiling.
of sad. I know. Buffy 2222. Who does the rogue Republicans want to run against Kevin McCarthy? And did you see that picture, Susan, of him sitting with McConnell and Pelosi and Schumer at a table with Joe Biden? You could read his energy without any problem. You didn't have to be any kind of psychic to
No,
see.
I didn't see it. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
God. Um,
yeah.
that's an interesting question. The rogue Republicans, there was a faction that was literally talking about making Donald the speaker because you
I
don't have to
know.
be a member of the House. So they
Right.
really were talking about that. But the problem is what they're telling me right now, which is a surprise to me. They don't even have support for Donald to be the speaker. I mean, even within the rogue Republicans, they don't have support. So you can see, but who really wanted it was Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's the one
Oh,
that wanted that
yeah,
power.
yeah,
But
yeah.
they're not going to get what they want. This
No,
is they really have to negotiate. And I really do think we're going to win more seats in
that's
in
awesome.
in the
So it will
spring.
flip over. It will flip
Yeah,
over
I
then.
think it's going to flip over.
Mhm. So my thought was, if they were so uncertain and they had this vote and he couldn't get it, that the Democrats could choose who they wanted to and they'd put Liz Cheney in there. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Well, they do. I'm sure they floated it. I'm sure they
I'm sure they
floated it,
have.
but
Wouldn't that
it's
be
not.
or Adam Kinzinger, one of
And
those
see,
two. Yeah, yeah,
the sides are just so within the
yeah,
Republican Party. It's just how are they going to get anything done? How are they going to come
yeah,
together? I don't
yeah.
know.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see how that
It's
goes.
going to be a
Yeah,
mess.
it is. So Maddie Churn wondered what major events are coming for 2023, and you did mention some weather events, obviously some other political events. Anything else that you might see that might be something that's well, you saw some Ukraine movement in Ukraine. What about Putin, or what about any of these leaders? Any thoughts at all about that?
So you're going to continue to see more um, of these kind of freedom protests. That is
Uh-huh.
going to spread like wildfire, and it's very interesting that Iran went from we're going to just assassinate these 1,500 women to maybe we will think about renegotiating the clothing requirements. Now, even if that
God,
was just lip service, it's
yeah,
still a big energy shift.
it
Just to
is.
even say the words is a big energy shift, but you're going to see more of this. I don't know why, but I always see Australia. I see Australia with people in the streets. I
Wow.
see I see all the big Australia, Britain, and United States people in the
People in
streets
the streets.
as
Yeah.
we go into summer. People in the streets,
Okay.
people in the streets, and then also I don't think Putin is doubling down. He's not wanting to step down. He's not ever going to step down. They're going to have to take him out,
Mhm.
on a stretcher, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I think that for some reason, him and Trump are kind of linked. Their energy's a little bit linked. So I
Hmm.
kind of feel like one will go down and the other one will go down at the same time. I don't see Putin making it out of
Yeah.
23.
Yeah. Yeah. He's not well anyway, but they keep saying that, but he keeps hanging on. So
Well, he's like Trump, right? I mean,
yeah,
I
I know.
saw Trump in a glass coffin. Linda G saw him in a glass coffin. How are these people still alive?
I know. Yeah, I
You know?
know. And that makes so much sense because what is it? Stalin did that, or yeah. And it's like I'm so great. I want everybody to be able to see me after I'm gone. Even
Yeah,
or,
right, right,
yeah.
right.
So while I'm thinking of this, I watched the body language between Emmanuel Macron and President Biden. Very, very lovely energies. He's holding his arm. They're holding like not hands, but you know what I mean. They're touchy feely. They're very much so. And so I was curious about him. So I did some research. He's 44 years old, and he married his teacher he met in high school. He was 15 and she was 40 or something. She's 69. And of course, here it would have been a big scandal, right? Like
Right.
what's her name with Villy Falau and Mary Letourneau, but apparently it wasn't that scandalous. But I looked at the both of them and I thought, I don't see that big age difference, but I tended to feel as though Macron looked to Joe like a dad, like there was some of that maybe past life energy in there. So, yeah, you feel that way.
Uh-huh. I think that especially European leaders see what Biden has done more clearly than Americans do. You
Yeah,
know, I mean, honestly, Russia could have marched right into Poland. This could have been World War III. This could have really gone down very differently. And Biden
yeah.
was the one before it even happened, telling everybody it's going to happen. And Biden was the one that went to those countries and said, we have to stand together. So really and
Mhm.
truly, Biden was the energy. He's sort of like the papa, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like the elder
Mhm.
statesman that went over there and said, we have to stay together against this,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. The
tyranny.
voice of reason. Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. I do feel that way. Um, get just the events here. Two names pop up. Epstein pops up. Who was the other one? Well, Epstein and Maxwell. Will that be resolved? Do you think this year coming up, or there was somebody else? I'm sorry, I forgot completely. But how
Resolved
about
in
them?
what way? Like,
Well, is it gonna, is it gonna come tumbling down? Was he murdered? What, will that come out? Yeah. Okay. No,
no, it's,
no.
I mean, we've got a lot of assassinations that have never really been
Yeah.
satisfactorily, discovered or talked about. Um, and it's because that they protect these very, very big, people like, princes and kings and big business
Right.
leaders. So I don't think so. They're trying to get, I've read on this before, and as I go into it now, they're trying to get into Maxwell's energy. But
Right.
I thought it was fascinating how she has this set up, because it was like she showed me the whole thing. Like there's these kids, for lack of a better term, that are like anywhere from 18 to 25, and they live all around the world. And I mean, some places in squalor, but
Uh-huh.
they've got whatever it is, that they've got that magic button. So if something happens to her, um, it's disseminated, and
Okay.
these people keep her alive.
I
And
see.
recently they eliminated, they found a few of those people and they eliminated them. And she was able to send a message to them that says, if you
Oops.
eliminate one more person, I will disseminate it. And she sent them stuff they didn't even know she had.
Okay.
So they stopped. So I
Wow.
don't
Wow.
think they're going to kill. I'm telling you, she's got them pretty much in a
Yep.
chokehold. Um,
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
almost like they want to try to keep her alive. That's kind of the energy. But who just came to me was Griner, the a basketball player, right? So
Right.
for her, I was seeing that she was going to be released in December, but now I don't see that because
Energy changed. Yeah.
yeah. But what are they talking about? That's interesting. Didn't didn't whoever our Secretary of Defense is, or it was actually Zelensky said that the Russian Orthodox Church is actually a terrorist organization. Did you hear that? So apparently,
Wow.
the Russian spies, they infiltrated that and they used that as a cover, the
Oh,
Russian Orthodox Church. So
okay.
Zelensky came out and just said that that's a terrorist organization. But anyway, when I was just talking about Brittany, they just mentioned that organization. And I'll just say that she's a prisoner of war, is what she is.
It
Um,
is. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but I do see her getting out, and I see that China becomes the uh, kind of the diplomatic channel.
Really?
Gets out.
Wow.
She actually goes into China, and China helps her get out. I think it's going to be a little closer to when Putin is on his way out.
Well, I know Bill Richardson is over there doing his negotiating with him and also the Marine that is now been pulled out and put into the hospital or something, older guy. And he said that he thought she was going to get out in December, but that it was going to be longer. Isn't that interesting? Because that's
Yeah,
exactly what Bill Richardson said. Yeah. Yeah.
I wish it was sooner. I know
I
she's
know.
very thin. I know
Yeah.
that she is not being treated well, and I
Mhm.
know that she's depressed. And it's
Yeah.
it's horrible, And when I read on her the last time I read on her, she has very much um, a McCain energy.
Oh.
She comes back to the
Oh.
states and she gets involved in politics because, because
Mhm.
she's seen what can happen from a very unique angle.
Absolutely. Just like McCain did.
Just like
Really.
McCain,
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
she can play ball. I mean, I think that her nutrition
No. Yeah.
and what's happening to her health and her body is not going to allow her to play professionally.
Yeah.
So the energy suggests that back to the energy, right? The energy
Right.
suggests a really good path for her would be to come back and run for office.
Good for her. I hope she does. And the reason she had marijuana and was because she had it for pain. So she already had some kind of a problem, I believe, because
Yeah,
that's what they
yeah,
threw her in there for was like I think CBD or
yeah, right,
craziness. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. Thank you so much. These are great revelations here for us. Barbara Odom said, "Peace, love, and light to all. Is it common for our ancestors to be our daily guides?" And you did talk a little bit about how guides can be and ancestors can be, but that's a good question. And I don't know, is that possible that they can also be a guide? Yeah.
Yes. And when you say ancestors, um, sometimes our ancestors, if you're talking about 50 incarnations ago, can be your main guide.
Oh,
But
okay.
I've seen situations where, say, your grandfather or your great grandfather or your great grandmother comes in as a guide. And it's always because there's something that you need to understand about your family, or you're the one in your family that's going to be tackling this sort of pattern. Like, let's say
Okay.
there's a pattern of abuse or alcoholism or whatever it is, you're the one in your family that's going to be like, buck stops here, I'm going to deal with this. And so you'll often have an ancestor in that way as a guide.
Uh-huh.
They are
Okay.
helping you with your family dynamics.
That also is the reason why some of us don't recognize our guides, but that, we're told before our somebody coming through and they look like this and they say, it's a woman's energy. But, like my grandmothers were dead before I was born. So I don't
So
know
you
what
wouldn't
they're,
recognize.
but they
Yeah.
might still hang out, I just
Yes.
don't know that.
Yes.
Yeah. So that might be a good reason why you don't know. Wow. Thank you so much. Okay. Betty Max. It's good to see you, Betty. How do we get in touch with our higher selves?
That's so awesome.
Mhm.
I just did something on this. Okay. So really quickly, this is my understanding. Your understanding might be different. Your higher self is a part of your soul that's there through all of your incarnations. So our
Mhm.
soul is multidimensional, and a part of us can be up there all the time. So your higher self is also the part of your soul that's closest to whatever you believe, God, the divine, whatever it is. Under that, I believe, is your spirit guides. And then under that, blah, blah, blah. So the best way to get in touch with your higher self is always through intention.
Mhm.
What I would suggest you do, I mean, you could even use cards. You could say, I would like to get a message from my higher self for my
Mhm.
highest good about be specific. Because if you just say, what do I need to know? You're going to get a very philosophical answer that could be very broad, right? But
That's
if
true.
I
That's
want to
true.
know from my higher self, I mean, if you're going to the big guns, you might as well go big. What is my soul's purpose? Am
Uh-huh.
I on my soul's purpose? What's blocking me from walking my soul's purpose? Those are questions you might want to ask your higher self. And then so you could just have that intention, and then you could pull a card, and then you could be reasonably assured that that information is coming from your higher self. But you could also go into meditation and ask that, or go into a trance and ask that. I find that your higher self is very serious. There's no joking.
Hmm.
There's no emotion. They are real serious. Like whenever I've gone into a trance and talked to my higher self, I will record it. I'll talk out loud and I'll record it because I don't always remember everything. And I'm like,
Hmm.
good Lord, you know what I mean? It's like they're real serious and they're very to the point and they know exactly what your problem is. So if you want to talk to your higher self,
They're
it's a good
blunt.
way to find that
Yeah.
stuff out.
Yeah. So do they tell you as well as your guides that you shouldn't be eating donuts and chocolate or?
They didn't even know chocolate. They could care less. They were
Oh.
wondering why I was not acting on my guidance. Uh,
Ah.
yeah,
Ah.
they like kicked me in my butt.
Wow. And you're
Yeah,
the one that acts on your guidance all the time. I'd be afraid to ask mine.
I haven't gone back.
Once
They're very
once
serious.
burned, twice shy. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're very serious.
I don't blame you at all. Um, Hurricane Force One says Oklahoma is preparing to collect signatures to put legal abortions on the ballot for the people to vote on. Did you know that? I didn't know that. That's
I
interesting.
mean, there's no
Yeah.
news. Let's just face
Yeah.
it. It's
Yeah.
like a black hole of nothing.
A black hole of
Um,
nothing. That's right. Yep. All right. So I put this one up. I'm going to ask everybody for prayers. My brother is transitioning. And so I just put this up because Susan's going to talk to me afterwards, but I would like this answered for everybody. It's not a personal question. Are loved ones that have crossed at the bedside of those transitioning, and do they know the time will come? Like what time is coming for them to go?
oh
Do
yeah.
they help them? Yeah.
So you always get the one that is in your heart. So
Okay.
whatever whatever makes your heart the happiest, that love connection between the souls, that's the person who comes down. um
Uh-huh.
Sometimes it also feels like just protection, like sometimes I'll see dad come down because that's his baby girl or whatever, right? Um
Yes.
um
Uh-huh.
they, in my estimation, they're like, if you want to just think of it in human terms, like they're at the bedroom door. If you're passing away at home, they're standing at the door like ready. So the minute you come out, depending on the situation, I've seen it
Sure.
go a couple of different ways, but generally speaking, they're allowed to come down and meet that person and take them off. Sometimes I see angels meet the person.
Hmm.
It could be
Hmm.
that that's the person's desire. It could be that's the person's religion. Is they
Hmm.
just know that the angels will meet them, so that's who meets them. So yes, you're not left alone to just
At all.
make your way. However, that is, there's always somebody, even if it's a pet, or a person and a pet. I mean, it can be anything.
Sure. Sure. Those that you remember and love so well. It's always gratifying to think that I remember my friend when she passed and her family was arguing over her as she's passing, saying who's going to
Oh,
call the funeral home. And it was just, I mean, I wasn't there, but it was just what I heard was awful. But what I see is that really it's more all about compassion, and of course, and that they're there to meet you and greet you, and that you're my niece said that he was making amends with people, And I thought that was interesting. But when I was there this summer, everybody, and if you get a chance, I'm not trying to be morbid or sad or anything else, but if you ever get a chance to work and talk with somebody that you love so dearly, and you can talk about death and dying, then it's very, very healing. And I was able to talk to my brother because he had COVID this summer. He already had COPD, so that was not a good thing for that guy. And was able to meet with him, and we had this really wonderful conversation about what I do and what I believe and how I know that, that these people are on the other side, and so forth. And that, it was when it was time for him to go, I wanted him to know how much I loved him. And it was just a great conversation. Not everybody can do that. Some people don't have time to do it, or there's a distance barrier or whatever. But if you ever get the opportunity, always tell someone how much you love them, how much they mean to you, because you never know when you'll ever see them again. And that's just anybody at any time, really. So I tend to get maybe sappy, but that's okay. I don't care.
No, not at all. Did you instigate that conversation?
I did. Yes.
Yeah.
And I had gone, when I go back to New Hampshire to see my friend, I've gone the 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, and then I couldn't go 20 and 21, and I was able to go in 22. And he wasn't feeling great with the COVID, but he got through it, and his grandson sat by his bedside. And I was so amazed by that whole thing. But I said, let's go out to eat. And I said, I want to talk about some things, if it's okay with you. And we talked because he had hospice that was already on the alert. And but he kind of thought it wasn't hospice like you think of hospice. It was more, well, they know that I need their help sometimes, so the visiting nurse is going to come by. And if that's the way he had to deal with it, that's fine. It's okay. But I said, I know there'll come a time. I know for either of us. And I just want to, say these things. And he was saying them back to me. And as we walked out, it was so interesting. As we walked out, I said, I know it's really weird about me being a psych, and I hang out with mediums and people like that. But I said, this is the way it is. He said, no, it really isn't. There's a lot of people that do that. And then he tells me his grandson was way up in Washington State near the Canadian border and saw Bigfoot.
Oh my God.
He would never have told me that, I don't think, if I hadn't instigated this conversation.
No.
And that he was afraid. He was alone. He had a gun, but he was really scared, but he got away and everything was okay. But it was like these conversations, you just never know what people will say. And it's always so wonderful. Thank you, everybody in the chat. You're all so sweet. Yes. And I think it does have to do with talking about making arrangements. My mother and father did that, going to the cemeteries when I was a kid, all of those things that make us, and then now knowing how they are from the other side and how they come and how we can talk to them and how they're with us. And all we have to do is think about them. And I mean, that's so what is the word I want to say?
Comforting.
It's comforting. Yeah, it's comforting. Yeah. So yes, thanks everybody. Wonderful questions for you today. Wonderful questions. Is there anything that your guides would like to say before we finish here today, Susan? Anything that comes to mind that I know you pretty much opened up what other things were coming, but anyway, I don't know.
They just want everybody to know that there's really more love and light than darkness and sadness. And I think sometimes, and especially in these coming months, we might feel like there's more sadness, there's more darkness, or things aren't going very well. And they just want us to know that if we just turn away from the darkness, it's beautiful. If you don't focus on the darkness,
it's all mindset, isn't it, Susan?
A lot of it is mindset. I mean, it is true. I mean, it is true that we're going through some things, right? And it is true that we need justice. But I can't bring Trump to justice, and none of either you guys. So in our world, it is mindset, right? In our world, it is keeping ourselves happy, keeping ourselves healthy. This is a lot of toxic sludge that we've been living in, this energy through the pandemic and through Trump. And if we don't just start offloading it and letting it go, and these new light codes, another thing that they're doing is healing us. So
Good.
if we'll allow, there's that word again, the
Mm-hmm.
sludge to go and allow the light to heal us, so they would just say, spend the next couple of months trying to allow more in
Mm-hmm.
whatever way that is for you,
Mm-hmm.
and allow the healing and allow the energy upgrades, and you'll have a much better spring and summer.
I really am looking forward to it, and I think 2023 will bring us. There's always a mixed bag, but I do believe that things and your mindset can really change the way you perceive something, and that we're all part of this. There was another thing in that book that said pretty much it isn't what you see, what you perceive that's reality, because we're all connected. So you can't really even see without your perception or without your judgment. And that's what makes it so hard. So you have to try to suspend it, which is even harder because we're so used to doing that. We're used to saying yes or no, up or down, in or out, whatever it is. And we live in this duality where we have to bring it all together into the unity. So yeah, very, very important. Very important. On a really, really uplifting note, I told Susan today, my daughter's partner and her, they've been together, he and she, for 10 years. And he proposed to her and they're getting married. And I never thought that would ever happen. And she's going to be 45 years old this month, never been married, doesn't want kids, which is fine. But I said, you guys, you better not be kidding me, because they told me they were getting married. And I'm like, you can't kid me about this now, because I can't deal with that, So, so it's really good news, and I'm happy for them. But yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
more good
yeah.
news, more good
More
news,
good news.
more good
And
news.
that's the focus, and that's what I really do think. And it's not like Susan said, we are also people that have to work on things. Things don't come easy for us, because living in this world, this 3D world, when you're a spiritual person, you still have to balance living here. So that's what's most important. Wow. Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Susan, as always. You're just awesome, and I love having you.
Aw,
And hopefully you'll come back in the new year sometime. And
absolutely.
I'm going to meet Susan next year. I hope, when I go to Linda G's thing, she's going to be there. I'm so excited. I can't stand it.
That's
It's going
going
to
to
be
be
fun.
amazing.
We're going to have so much fun.
We're
Yeah,
going to have a
yeah,
blast. And that
we
energy
will.
in Sedona is going to be just like,
Have you been there before? Have
no,
you?
but I
Oh,
know it's going
no.
to
Oh,
be.
boy. Oh, those red rocks are something else.
I'm going to get
Oh,
some tinfoil. I swear to God. I'm going to get tinfoil and I'm going to wrap it around my head because I'm not sure I can handle it. I mean, I hear
well,
people,
yeah, and just put a little two antennas up. You'll fit right
I
in.
don't
Yeah.
want to have more. I want to have less. I need a lead hat. I I don't want to have more connection because
I
some people
understand.
say like, "Oh, I couldn't sleep in Sedona. I had to go sleep somewhere else." I'm like, "Well, that's not really going to be
Uh-huh.
an
Yeah.
opportunity for me. I'm going to have to stay there." So I'm going to get
Uh-huh.
a lead. I am.
There you
I
go.
swear to you guys. I'm
When my brother, not the brother that's transitioning, but my other brother who passed, when he went to Sedona, he'd been there a couple times, but he was really, really ill, and he was able to walk through the vortexes with no problem.
oh
And it was
wow,
amazing. It was
wow.
amazing. Yeah.
See,
Yeah. He had the energy and the ability to walk through the vortexes. He was exhausted later on, but as he walked through, he was fine. And so it just, to me, spoke volumes. It spoke volumes that he was able to do that. So
that's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. 3D
And
is
there's
not easy, Lorraine. Yeah.
And there's energy centers all around the country. So,
Hmm.
it's not just Sedona. There's energy
No.
centers on the East Coast, on the West Coast. So you might be within driving distance of an energy center,
There you
Oh,
go.
Arlene,
Arlene Forney
right.
lives there. I didn't even know that. That's awesome, Arlene.
That
Yeah.
is
That's
awesome.
great. Yeah.
Very cool.
You'll have to meet us up and maybe have coffee. So let us know. All right. So
Yeah.
thank you, everybody. Thank you, those in the chat. Thank you, Susan, of course. And everybody, have a wonderful, wonderful day. I love you all. Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye-bye.